I can dig it. All right, we got to move on down the list because at this time of the year, there's only two teams playing, and both these teams are pretty set at quarterback. On the flip side, there are a number of teams that, yeah, they need a quarterback. I am auditioning different quarterbacks myself, even warming up my arm just in case they need me. Okay, it's a new day. They don't know how good or bad I am. Who knows? Let's go. But there's a number of teams in this position: Washington, Chicago, New England, Minnesota, the Raiders, the Broncos, Atlanta, and Seattle. All of these teams are in a position, either they kind of have somebody that's either a free agent or on their last leg, or they have younger guys, or they just need a quarterback. Delilah, I'm going to come to you. You've seen those names. You know your team. You know, you have Justin Fields. Everybody outside of Chicago says, oh, you're going to trade him. You're going to trade him. I don't think you should. Nick and you seem to think it's stay. Do you keep him and build around him, or do you take the shot at Caleb?
I understand both sides. Like, you know what I mean? I actually understand analytically why, obviously, we didn't hire Cliff, who was connected to Caleb, why we did the whole switcheroo, right? Right? Oh, he's coming in an interview. And then the Bears were like, oh, psych, that's not who we wanted, right? And, and so with the choices they're making, it could go either way, in my opinion. Like, I could see them, like, robbing someone for picks, right? Yeah. Like, to give them the first round pick, right? So I totally see them fleecing a team. But how much are these teams willing to give us? Because I know we're going to ask for something astronomical before you get the number one pick. Because that's number one, right?
Yeah.
And so these teams, whoever it is, has to be willing to give us like an arm and a leg. Yeah. How many teams are willing to do that? That's what I need. Like, how many teams are willing to get? Because look what happened to the Panthers. Okay?
Yeah.
We had the number one pick because of the crazy trades that the Panthers made with us. We have their pick. That was going to be theirs. You know, and we have a bunch of other picks from them. So I don't know if people want to be in that same position again. You know, we're like, oh, man, we're last. You know, goes back to the Bears, and then we're back here next season. But I could also understand the Caleb Williams. Like, I'm not you, Kate and Sean. You're better at the college stuff. You know, y'all know more. You know how he played. And so a lot of people are like, he's like the next Patrick Mahomes, kind of how he's looked at. I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that I don't know, but that's what is being said. That's, that's not coming from me. That should come from all the sports people saying. And there's a heavy cloud over the Bears when we chose Mitchie and not Mahomes. And so I feel like that's also kind of with us. And the person that was with the Kansas City Chiefs who picked Mahomes is now our general manager. Like, you see how I could totally see him going, you know what, we're going to send Fields to another team where actually he could be productive, where he could fit totally in. Like, we'll trade him for some picks and draft Caleb Williams because we're actually hiring good coaches for once. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the part where I'm like, oh, we're actually hiring coaches. That's literally what we were upset about. I understand keeping Eberflus through this contract. So it doesn't mean he'll have he wasn't given an extension. So it doesn't mean he'll be here next season. But I understand why they're like, you know what, go ahead, play out your year. Because that's something else that was also critiqued about, a lot of teams are like, oh, you're trading him away, in 2 seasons. You're firing coaches, And so I can see it going either way. And, I'm going to have to do what I always do and just follow along with the ride. Because I'm a Bears fan.
Yes. Well, thankfully, you guys will probably be the topic of conversation the closer we get to the draft. You guys will be the number one. Now, look, I got to go from one end of the spectrum all the way over to the other. Coming to you, Kate, I got to be honest. I mean, you live in Michigan. This isn't a familiar spot for you guys. A couple years ago, you guys were interchanging quarterbacks. Now you've got your guy. So when you look at this list, of all these teams that are in the position that you guys were in, who do you think is most likely to get a quarterback?
First, I think the team that I think needs to really work on where they're going to go is the Broncos. because they had all that drama at the end of the season
Right.
between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. I
Yeah.
think they need to figure out where they can put Russell, because it's clear that I don't think Sean and him can work together. I don't think they're going to have a good relationship, and that team desperately needs a good quarterback. So I think they need to figure out that situation. Like that one, when you listed the teams, that one came most to spotlight with me, because I know there's so much drama right now. Because Russell, I don't think really wants to play for Peyton. I think he'd rather go somewhere else where he's wanted, where they'll use him, where he can hopefully flourish still in the league.
Where he doesn't get disrespected on the sidelines in front of everybody.
Exactly. Where he has a coach that actually likes him and wants him and desires to have his arm on his team. So I think the Broncos is such a tenuous situation right now with that I think they need to strongly look at what they're going to do with Russ and draft a really good quarterback. I mean, I could see like a Michael Penix at Denver, like throwing it, slinging it. I think he would fit well with Sean Payton and his system. I think he'd be a very coachable quarterback, because he's been a very coachable quarterback under their former coach that's now at Alabama. So I think they need a young, hot talent like him to go there to lead that team. And I think they really need to cut the ties with Russ. So that team stood out to me because I know there's a lot of drama going on. And I think there's unsettled business there that needs to be taken care of with Russ, so that Denver can get back to the promised land that it can be with Sean, and make our Tina Winter a happy Broncos fan. So that's the team that stands out to me. But I think I don't know where they fall as far as their pick, but I think if Penix
is a pretty good one.
I think if Penix is available, that he would be the right quarterback for that team. And I think he'd be the best quarterback for Sean Payton.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can definitely see that. And thank you to Delilah. I see in the private chat. We all know that Russ goes where Sierra says it's okay for him to go. He needs to go through her before he goes anywhere.
And Sierra's made it very vocal. She's very much not happy with how Sean's treated her husband.
Yeah. So
there it is. Happy wife, happy life.
Amen. That's why I've been a Detroit fan the last couple weeks. Go Lions!
And how can you not feel?
There we go.
Right. Nicole, I'm coming to you. I mean, so I have two questions. You see this list, but there's one team on this list that directly affects you. Our buddy Kyle Yacy, the Atlanta Falcons. You know, what goes on there? But also, I know you're not on this list, but are you guys set at quarterback in New Orleans?
Well, that is a very good question, Sean. And I would just like to say here, looking at Caleb Williams and him as a roster potential, and looking at the full 2024 NFL draft order, yes, Chicago has that first pick. And then again, there is Washington. Yes, Atlanta is number 8, and I do think that they are a contender, but I think that they would have to trade something up to get more up the ladder, if you'd say, if they want Caleb Williams. So I'm thinking also too, with Commanders and the new head coach Dan Quinn, I think they might be on their way into trying to get him on the squad.
I could see it. Or North Carolina and Drake May. I mean, it's all good.
Yes, we got Winston, and I think we might have to huddle about the Saints and what we're gonna do. We're not in the conversation for the quarterback right now. I think we got to focus on other things.
I can dig it. Yeah, obviously you guys know how I feel. I love my guy Sam Howell. That is my guy. I want him. I from North Carolina. I watched him from his freshman year all the way up. The dream come true for him to come on my team. But I am not foolish. I'm not going to sit here and just be blinded by my love for this guy. It might be time for him to go. Now we got Dan Quinn. We'll see what Dan Quinn wants to do if Eric Bieniemy stays. But I think we're in the same spot as Delilah. I mean, obviously not the same. She's one spot over us, but we also, in my opinion, should be fielding calls. You know, Nicole, you talked about Atlanta, Denver. You guys talked about. If any of them are hitting us up like, look, we'll give you 2 first rounders, three first rounders, whatever. I think we should listen to that call. You know what I mean? And we might not get one of the Caleb Williams or Drake Mays, but we might move back down and then get Michael Penix. You know, Kate, your boy, is he coming out?
McCarthy.
I was about to say now, obviously, we'll see that now. Obviously, but the other part about that is we kind of know where he wants to go. He wants to follow his coach.
Chargers.
Yeah, he wants to follow his coach. So
does Blake. They both are hoping to get drafted by Jim.
So, but even in the league, but even still, that's still something.
I don't see that happening with JJ just because he won a natty. He's
underrated, Delilah. He's underrated.
It's from analysts that I've been reading. Yeah, so he might.
I don't listen to the analysts.
This might be perfect, though. This might be perfect because you have a perfect situation. You already have a solidified quarterback in Justin Herbert. So if he wants to get JJ in there to learn the system, he has as much time as he can to mold him and everything. And then we could figure out, is Justin Herbert the guy?
There's going to be another Cade versus JJ in LA.
Well, that's it. Now, I will say Justin Herbert's a lot better than Cade, but JJ has the X factor, the head coach. So
and they're a package deal. We all know they're a package deal.
Yeah. So it's going to be the LA Wolverines from here on out. But
I can't be a Chargers fan. I can't.
Now look. So with this, we see all these different quarterbacks. You guys talked about who do you think could do it. Which of these teams do you think is potentially a quarterback away? Who needs a quarterback to be that difference?
Ooh, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so let me redo the names: Washington, Chicago, New England, Minnesota, Vegas.
New England for sure.
Minnesota.
I was gonna say New England sounds pretty good.
I think Minnesota, because they have a lot of good pieces right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess it'll just depend on what they decide with Kirk Cousins. If they're going to keep him, see how he does after he's healed.
Yeah.
I don't see them dealing him, but that would be my bet is Minnesota.
Yeah, that's something I'm looking at. And another team, Seattle. I mean, Seattle was in the playoffs a year ago. You know what I mean? I know they have Geno and everything, but I wonder how sold they are on Geno. You know what I mean? And then you got Drew Lock there. So, and they got a new head coach too. So the same thing with Washington, where if the coach wants to go another direction, they might be in the market for a quarterback. So
I don't know. I don't know if they'll draft this high though. You know what I mean? Like,
where's their draft pick?
Yeah, I think that Seattle needs other things, you know, more important than that. In my opinion.
Their pick? Do we know?
Yeah.
Seattle?
They have a young defense that's good. They have solid wide receivers in Metcalf and Lockett. And then who's the rookie? The guy from Ohio State, JSN.
Yep.
They got him.
Jackson
so,
yeah.
So
they got number 16 in the first round. So they're
dead spot in the middle.
Yeah. They have a you know, so they're
that's not a very
that's not a I don't know. I feel like they're going to be one of those teams that we might see move.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might see move higher, actually. Or but I feel like Seattle has other problems that are more important than quarterback. I think they got to really fix their offense. Not necessarily quarterback, but get some more wide receivers. You know, I love Metcalf. He's getting older. You know, I
need some linemen.
Yeah, you know, protect Geno from the pocket, or even Drew Lock, whoever. I just feel like they have other needs that are more necessary than quarterback
Mhm.
at the moment.
Yeah.
I feel like unlike the other teams that we're talking about, they can run with Dino, Dino, Jesus, I'm sorry, with Gino and Drew Lock. Like for
Yeah.
now, they can actually run with them, like just fine in tandem, whatever they want to do, kind of like the Saints do between their three quarterbacks.
Yep.
I just
Jason Hill.
It works.
I just feel like I feel that they have other holes. I feel like the other teams, like especially the reason with ATL is because their fans are not sold on Ritter. Like we know
Mhm.
Kyle and Anthony Handy, they're both Atlanta fans. They're not sold on this kid, and so I feel like they're a team that needs a quarterback more for their fan base. And I agree with Kate. I think Denver also is one of those teams that need a quarterback, but it has more to do with just the relationship is not. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's other teams that are in higher need of quarterback than in Seattle. So, but we'll see. Weird things happen during the draft. I see things happen all the time, and I'm like, oh, that's not what
Absolutely.
I expected.
Right. Everything that we're focusing on now could totally change.
Bo Nix is a good quarterback too.
Well, and see, that's the other thing. There's a number of really good quarterbacks, and Jaden
could go later, right?
Nix. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Daniels?
Sam Hartman, JJ McCarthy. There's a lot of guys that can come out, and you're going to get them maybe around pick 12, 13, 14, 15 down the line. So you don't have to spend so much money on the potential.
Right. I mean, and look at what a rookie contract is. I would get a young hot quarterback, not have to pay him as much as someone who's seasoned in the league, and develop him.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good. I think Bo Nix would be a great person in Atlanta for some reason. I could see him there in that system.
Yeah,
he would be a very good quarterback, or in Seattle if they choose to do it, because he's used to like that area and they know his play, and so
we'll see. We'll definitely see. It's going to be interesting. There's going to be so much talk about in the next couple of weeks, obviously because of all of this stuff. So